Welcome back to Sunday Vibes 1, and we're back in the pub. No Chris Hamill today, he's on another lads holiday. Shot beer. Well, I've got a 6'9" friend. Get over yourself, mate. Doogie Critchley replaces him. Patrick Van Straten's here as ever. We're here to answer your questions. The first one was sent in by Ibiza Boy _93.
Adam Templeman.
He says, which of the top six will have the worst season? Doogie, you're saying Arsenal, I believe.
Yeah, I probably am, but it's a difficult question in that it depends on what your expectations are. I think Man United are set for a massive decrease on second place from last year, but I think it's between Arsenal, Chelsea and Man United for me to finish sixth. I think Arsenal have recruited well, but they...
No Tottenham Hotspur. For me, Tottenham are way in that race.
No, I think Spurs are a good side. They're settled. Everyone's still there. I mean, they'll probably get rid of Danny Rose today. This is shot on a Thursday. This goes out on a Sunday, so we're not quite sure who they'll end up bringing in to replace him, but they've got a settled side. I still think they've got another year of top performances at least with that side. Arsenal have gone through a massive culture shock. Wenger out, Emery in, two polar opposite managers, brought in some really interesting players, but last season their away form was awful. I was just having a look at the Premier League table yesterday. They won 4 games and lost 11. Just disastrous away from home. They've recruited really well. I think Torreira will be a good signing. I think Leno has to be an improvement on Czech. And they've got a very exciting forward line. I think Aubameyang, Lacazette, Mkhitaryan, Ozil. But I can't see that getting into the top 4 just because City, Liverpool, Spurs, too strong for me. They'll be guaranteed. I think United will probably sneak 4th. So I'm going Arsenal. I also think Chelsea. Everyone's giving Chelsea a lot of stick, but I actually think they've done all right this window. They got rid of a player that didn't want to be there in Courtois. Yes, they've overpaid for Kepa, but he's clearly a promising keeper, and he had a better saves to goal ratio than Courtois last year. They brought in Jorginho, one of the world's leading controlling midfielders. They brought in Kovacic, they kept Hazard, they kept Willian. Yes, they could have done with another winger, but I think Chelsea, are set for a reasonably good season. Obviously, there'll be a period of adaptation under a new manager, new tactics, but I don't think Chelsea have done as badly, so I'm unfortunately going for Arsenal to finish sixth.
Do you think this could be Arsenal's worst Premier League season?
No.
No?
I don't.
You can't see it worse.
Last season was so bad. And the thing is...
You're not going to do a Moyes. You don't think you can do a Moyes?
It's possible another team could do well this season, but when you look at Arsenal's front line, it's hard to see them being outscored by any of the clubs below them, and I think that will carry them. When you think that last year everything that could go wrong did go wrong, they still finished 6th and quite comfortably. You have to think it'll be an improvement.
Still averaging over 2 a game as well.
I actually think Emery will have quite a good bump at the beginning because the attack will still be good, and as he sorts out the defence, I think the fitness levels will go up, and that will kind of give us a little kind of boost in the short term. But the thing is...
Your signings defensively have been horrible.
I don't like our signings defensively, but in defensive midfield, there'll be much more protection with Torreira there against Uzi. But my argument here would be that Arsenal could finish 6th, but still not have had the most disappointing season. I think it's perfectly possible to finish 6th, but to be making progress as a club, whereas I think United will probably backslide a bit this season. That's worrying. I don't know if Spurs are going to make progress this season, whereas everybody else I think will be fine. City will stay about the same, Liverpool will get better, Chelsea will get better, Arsenal will get better. United and Spurs are the ones who have the potential to go back.
I think Spurs could be in for a big lot of trouble. I think Spurs are the top 6 this season. I think are going to have a really tough time. I just feel like their transfer business over the summer might have dragged them into that 6th place battle. I don't see that squad being a top 4 squad anymore. I think Moussa Dembele towards the back end of last season was starting to show his age a little bit. I don't know whether you're going to get another full season of elite Moussa Dembele numbers.
I agree with that.
They haven't replaced him. They've looked to sell Victor Wanyama this summer, so clearly he's not one of Pochettino's main guys in that midfield. So I look at that central midfield area and I think if Musa's not going to play 30 games, Wanyama's kind of slowly being pushed out the side.
He played under 900 minutes last season.
Who's going to play in that midfield? I'm looking at Eric Dyer.
Winks.
I'm looking at, is Harry Winks? Are we seriously thinking Harry Winks is going to come in and liven that midfield up? I don't he's a talented player in such that he's not necessarily built of a classic English mould, but even then, leaves a lot to be desired. I think
never
when you
played
look
at
at
the top for more
when
than
you
10
look at
games.
the other top six's midfield options and how they've improved this summer, United bringing in Fred, City didn't really bring anyone in but didn't need to. They've got a deep enough midfield. Chelsea bring in Jorginho and Kovacic. You've brought in Lucas Torreira. Liverpool have brought in Fabinho and Naby Keita.
Alisson
Tottenham
as well.
have brought in no one and they're relying on Winks. I think that's a risk.
And they had something like 9 players involved in the World Cup semi-finals. I know it's not all about the start, but it does set the tone for the rest of the season. And they've got Son out for 6 games.
They've also got a horrendous record at the start of the season. Over the course of the last 3 seasons, they've only won 3 games out of, I believe, 11 in August.
Yeah, but if we're going to go on their record, then we can also say they're the only club in the Premier League to finish in the top 3 the last 3 years running.
Yeah, for sure. But
they've been remarkably consistent under Pochettino. And the thing is, if it weren't for the fact that they've had like a terrible summer, I don't think anyone would be thinking there's any reason that they should be any worse than they were last year. The reason I say they have potential to backslide is because a bad injury is always going to be a bigger problem for Spurs than it is for a lot of the other clubs around the top 6.
But it's not just bad business, I don't think. I think like some of their sales leave a lot to be desired. If Danny Rose does leave today, obviously we're shooting this on Thursday, don't know if he's left yet, why are they selling Danny Rose when they've got no left-back cover? As far as I'm aware, they've got no left-back. They're going to ask Aurier to potentially deputise as a left-back. That feels odd. They're looking to sell Fernando Llorente today. I don't know whether that's happened or not.
Unhappy Alderweireld as well.
Toby Alderweireld was kind of in, he was out. Probably on his day, still one of the Premier League's best centre-backs, but is he going to play a full season? Is he happy there? Danny Rose clearly not happy there. They're trying to sell Llorente, they're trying to sell Wanyama. Seems like Pochettino thinks there's a lot of dead wood, but hasn't brought any fresh players in.
He's a nice, affable guy, Pochettino, but if I was him, I'd be absolutely fuming. At the end of last season, he said, well, we've got to dream big, we've got to go big, and they've brought in absolutely nothing. I
think that's his fault. I think that's his problem.
Do you think? I think transfer business is pretty much done by Levy at that time.
I don't think that's true. I think Levy gets the deals done, but I don't think he picks the players, and I don't think...
There's no way that Pochettino hasn't gone with him with a list of 5 or 6 players being like, we need 2 or 3 of these.
I don't know if that's true. I think Pochettino has like targeted weird people before.
Grealish, Lewis Cook, not the players Tottenham need.
I'd be fine with Lewis Cook. I think Lewis Cook would be a good signing. I think Grealish would be a fine signing as well. I do think we'll see more minutes for Dele Alli and Christian Eriksen further back this season, but because now they've got a bit more of a rounded front line, they can afford to play Lucas Moura and Son higher up, and they can bring back Ali. But I don't know. I think that the weird thing about Spurs, somebody made this point on Twitter, is that Levy's had great success in turning them from a kind of upper mid-table side into a top-tier side. But the thing is, they fired a bunch of their scouts ages ago. They've got no director of football. They've got nobody with any real power over how the team is built, except for Pochettino. They've basically understood that they've got this amazing manager, and they've done everything they can to keep him happy. And that's basically meant that they've given him total control over who he brings to the club, who he wants to sign. And so Moussa Sissoko was his terrible idea. And as good a coach as Pochettino is,
two failed wingers
in the transfer market, he's been quite erratic.
Yeah.
And so I think
that's polite erratic.
If they particularly in the forward areas, like Lamela hasn't really come good. I know he's had a lot of injuries. Sissoko,
he didn't sign
G.
Lamela, but I think that to get to the next level, they probably do need to get a director of football, because there's no structure behind Pochettino. And if they haven't got anybody in, though I think they'll probably get one person through the door today, if they haven't got anybody in by the time this goes live, then it is a little bit worrying, because you say, okay, Spurs have got a bunch of amazing talents, like generational talents for that team, right? With Alderweireld, Vertonghen, Lloris, who I know you don't like, but he's very good for Tottenham, Eriksen, Ali, Kane. These are rare talents.
Yeah.
And they're not maximising their chance of winning something major with them. They're just pootling along, kind of being happy with two or 3, maybe even 4. So I think that this season they're asking for trouble, because if you're not going forwards, eventually those players are going to say, why can't I go and earn more money somewhere else where I can also win more trophies?
I can't see I know he signed that contract earlier this summer, but I cannot see a scenario where he stays even another 18 months. I think it'll be at the end of this season. If Kovac doesn't do well enough at Bayern, if Lopetegui doesn't do well enough at Real Madrid, I think he'd be the easiest top-level manager to get out of the club. And I think he'd be happy to go, and it'd be fair dues as well. He's done a fantastic job there, but everything runs its course.
And I kind of feel like it is about to run out of steam. Like it's got that feeling of a set of players and a squad in a similar way to when Borussia Dortmund were coming to an end under Jurgen Klopp, as it's going to start to break up. And I think once you pull one Jenga piece from the pile, I worry a lot about the rest of the Jenga pieces there. So if Pochettino leaves, do I really see them keeping hold of Kane, Dele Alli, Christian Eriksen, Davinson Sanchez for that long? I'm not completely convinced. But there are other teams in that top 6. We talked about Arsenal, Tottenham.
Let's go on to United.
Man United are an absolute mess.
You were all very flustered this morning about Godin.
Absolute mess. So at the time of recording, we've literally just, in the last 5 minutes, been linked to Diego Godin. I have no clue, if you're watching this on Sunday, whether or not we signed Diego Godin. Whether or not we signed him, irrelevant. We've still had a mess of a window.
Yeah.
Because our targets and our planning and our work behind the scenes have been so scattergun and sporadic, it's nearly embarrassing. We've gone from target to target to target to target to target, failed on 95% of the and then landed on a player that we probably should have just gone for in the first place if we do get Godin over the line at 20 million euros because he's got a buyout clause. If that's the case and we wanted him, why the didn't we just go from earlier in the window? Rather than fannying around and paying 80 million or in talks, making 2 bids, 60 million upwards for Harry Maguire, panicking over Alderweireld, then looking at Jerome Boateng on loan. It's just a mess. And not only that,
it's quite embarrassing. Yeah.
We haven't improved areas we desperately needed to. Our fullbacks are a mess. For the whole of last season, they were average at best. Jose constantly bemoaned Man City's spending of £100 million on fullbacks and went, I need players at that level. Well, why didn't you go out and sign anyone? We weren't even linked to a right back. We were about to sell Darmian for 15 million euros to Napoli. That move collapsed. He's now probably going to be starting against Leicester on Friday. You will have seen it. I don't know whether he did or not.
So right back, you got Valencia, Darmian and Dalot.
And Diego Dalot injured, injured, Valencia.
And at left back you got Shaw,
Young and Dalot can play there as well. So Shaw and Darmian are likely to be our starting fullbacks, and it's probably going to be Smalling and Bailly.
Yeah. Still got Jones, still got Smalling.
Disgrace to be going into this season with that backline. Seriously.
When you have the money that Man United have, you have pretty much unlimited spending power. It's crazy that these are the defensive personnel they have ended up with, especially after Mourinho spent the whole of last season complaining about fullbacks. He's gone out this summer and bought one.
I know, and I have to say as well, Ed Woodward, your head is on the chopping block. I don't know how much longer he can last.
Well, Mourinho goes first, right?
To have a good window, Ed Woodward. He's been there since Moyes, yet to have a good window. Don't get me wrong, he has signed some talented players. Love Lukaku, love Paul Pogba, Eric Bailly, not the worst signing as well. But my God, has he some transfers. The amount of players he's gone in for and missed out on, causing calamity towards the back end of the window, has been a disgrace. I remember when he first came in alongside Moyes and was going, I want Bale, I want Ronaldo, I want Modric, Fabregas, I want Kroos, I want Fabregas, got none of them.
Thiago.
Then he went for Thiago, got none of them. Every single window he seems to identify targets that we can't get out of clubs. I don't know how it's happening, but he's like going, I want the best name in the world. Who's in that position? It's like he's on Football Manager and he's like going, do it by transfer value, and then just going for the top 4 names.
It's
and
either that he doesn't have like the bargaining ability, or United just don't hold the same esteem that they used to. Yeah. I think that it might be the latter. It might just be paper talk, but apparently Kovacic didn't want to join United because of the style of play under Mourinho. Whether that's true or not is a different matter. But I do think United used to have this way. Just Ferguson and David Gill would get these big names in the door, not talk about 9 different centre-backs you're going to sign none of them, and then go for Yerry Mina last minute, or then pay over the odds to Maguire or whatever. It just seems like a bit of a mess. But at the same time, I still think United will be all right this season because the midfield of Fred, Matic and Pogba, I don't know enough about Fred yet, but we'll see how it goes. That is potentially really exciting.
But the trouble is, this is where it gets worse for United, in that Mourinho and Pogba, it's like they loggerheads every single day of the week, hate each other. Like they make up, then they fall out. They make up, they fall out. It's literally like a bloody rom-com.
Martial, Bailly as well. Like these are the 3 guys you want to build that club around at the moment, right? Those
23, 24 years old.
Lukaku, I suppose, as well. Like, those are the guys who are going to be the heart of your team, and he's pissed off all of them in the last year.
It's unbelievable.
It's absolutely crazy.
Honestly, the Pogba move, He has been so badly managed, Paul Pogba, by Jose Mourinho. How can you come out after the World Cup that Pogba had and say, well, you know, I don't know whether you guys saw the quotes, but effectively I actually watched the interview and he basically says, well, you know, the World Cup's the perfect position for Pogba because he's in a locked-off camp, he has no distractions, every single game's a big game, he doesn't have to worry about small games. He's effectively saying Paul's got a lack of concentration, that he doesn't turn up for the small games. If I'm Pogba coming out, I'm going, what are you talking about? Yeah. Like, I'm not being funny, but you haven't exactly improved my game. You've not got me playing in a system that I'm enjoying and I'm finding free-flowing football in. I'd be thinking, that. Like, as a Man United fan, I'd much rather Mourinho off than Paul Pogba.
Well, with all this in mind, that's why I think when you say, oh, could this be Arsenal's worst Premier League season ever? Could be United's. It really could be.
Worse than Moyes'?
It could be as bad.
Oh, it could be worse than Moyes'.
Not positionally necessarily. I don't think that they're going to
finish.
Bro,
it definitely could.
I'm not sure you're not going to finish 7th.
No, probably not. But this has got all the earmarks of Chelsea 15th in the league.
Yeah. No. I absolutely do think. I don't think they'll finish 7th because I think it's basically impossible at this point.
Yeah.
But I do think that this could genuinely be, relative to the quality of the squad and the manager and everything, this could be their worst Premier League season.
What is that?
It's disastrous.
Missing out on Champions League?
I think it was 6th. They could easily finish 6th. They could easily finish 6th.
I'd be surprised if they finish 6th.
I don't know. I mean, Sanchez is getting old. Lukaku gets
sharp.
injured.
Sanchez looks sharp.
But he gets injured, then it's rough, and he could get tired towards the back end of the season. Pogba plays badly. Fred isn't quite as good as they hoped he would be.
Lukaku,
You know, Matic is another year older. The backline's shot to bits. They could be fine.
Another injury to Bailly.
They could be so bad.
And we have to start Jones this morning again. And we've tried Jones this morning for 8 years.
It's the worst.
They've been in the club for 8 seasons now, and it hasn't worked for 5 games in that 8 years.
Okay, so what's the prediction? For 6th, you're saying Arsenal.
I think Arsenal, yeah.
Okay. For 6th, you're saying...
You know what? I'm also going to say Arsenal, although I think Tottenham could be in and around there if they're not careful.
I think Spurs will be okay, but just to be different, I'm going to say United 6th.
Oh, spicy. But who do you guys at home think is going to finish 6th and have a nightmare this season? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. The next question was sent in by Johnny Kovics. He says, what are your predictions for the UEFA Champions League this season, lads? Patu, coming to you first.
I wrote a script about this recently, and I don't know, I think that it's quite an open field in the Champions League this season.
Who's favourite?
Right now, when I looked at the numbers, I think it was Man City.
Okay, I'm not surprised.
And actually, if you asked me to put money, if I had to put money on someone, I'd probably be between Man City and Juventus. I still don't look at Juventus' midfield and think that's a Champions League winning midfield. But I also look at Man City and think you are a couple of injuries in midfield and defence away from disaster. So the question is, does Cristiano Ronaldo tip Juventus over? And I don't know, maybe he does. I could see that being the final, but I think PSG will be a lot better this season. Real Madrid will drop off. Barcelona will always be there.
Yeah.
And then you've got a club like Liverpool. So for me, actually my favourites are kind of Liverpool, PSG, Juventus and Man City, which is a weird selection of teams, right?
I kind of agree with you. I think Man City are definitely going to be there or thereabouts, but like you, I wonder whether the midfield depth is enough to see them over the line on multiple fronts, because I think Pep's going to push for multiple fronts this year. No cover for Fernandinho through the door. I do think Bernardo Silva is going to have a really standout year this year. I just feel, I know you're not a fan, Pato, but I feel like he's going to have a really good season, Bernardo Silva. You're hoping, though, there's big pressure on KDB, because KDB doesn't turn up in that Man City midfield for even 6 months, and I think they struggle quite badly. I don't know whether they've got another player like him with his distribution capability from both deep and advanced positions. So I think Man City will be there or thereabouts. I don't think PSG are going to be up there. I think it might be a bit of I feel like it might be a little bit of a rocky season under Thomas Tuchel there. I think it might be a little bit of a learning curve and not necessarily hitting the ground running straight away, because he's obviously got such different techniques to managers they've seen there before. And I think he's going to try and play in a way that they haven't necessarily seen at the Parc des Princes before. So I think it will be a little bit of time before PSG are challenging the Champions League. Obviously they'll smash it domestically very comfortably, which does help them on the European front, but don't see them being there or thereabouts. Juventus as well. I agree with you. I don't think they've got the midfield for it.
What about Atletico Madrid?
Atletico Madrid. So I was actually reading a really interesting article about Diego Simeone today. And Diego Simeone has apparently privately told his staff that he believes they should go all out for the Champions League rather than the league this year.
Really?
Not necessarily.
They're kind of built
not
for
necessarily that they're sacking it off, but he's effectively privately acknowledged they're exactly that, is that they're perfectly set up for cup competitions, which is why they generally do so well. Coming off the back of a Europa League win last season, they think they can push on for a Champions League this season with the additions they've brought in, and I kind of think
that's quite narrow-minded though. I think with the signings they made this summer, why don't you have an assault on both?
He'll definitely be trying to assault both.
Less likely to win both.
But I think he's going to go more for the Champions League than the league.
Really?
Can.
I'd be surprised. Okay.
Yeah, man.
I kind of understand that. With that squad, do you think maybe we've got to maximise our chances?
And also, maybe a little bit
selfish.
selfishly for Diego though, but he's won the league. Yeah. And he's still missing that
Once
Champions
that
League from the locker, so maybe that's a little bit of a selfish.
Yeah, if they hadn't reached the final twice and lost, then maybe he'd care less.
He's got a bit of a Klopp vibe about him.
Well, I think it'll be a fascinating Champions League this year. I think it's actually looking ready for Man City and Liverpool to really challenge for it. I think Barcelona, I really struggled to see them doing as well in the league this year. And they didn't look great when it came down to it in the Champions League at times.
I don't know, man. I think they're probably up there for me as Champions League.
Really? They've only got 4 players in their squad now that scored over 5 goals in all competitions last season. Coutinho, Suarez, Messi, and Paco Alcácer.
But Coutinho is going to be a difference maker for Barcelona this season. Obviously, only joined in January, and then he had a little bit of a niggle, didn't he? I think he had, was it a quad or a thigh or a hamstring injury, something like that. And
he did remarkably well considering
I just feel like
he couldn't get a run of games.
Following his World Cup, at the World Cup I thought if he'd have gone further with Brazil, he would potentially have taken the golden ball from it. I think he was on fire at the World Cup.
And Dembele will be a real factor this year.
Dembele will be fit, he'll score plenty, and Malcolm will get some when he plays as well.
I'm not convinced about the signing of Malcolm, to be honest.
No?
I think it's a weird one, but he's a good player.
0.4 goal involvements last year, which in the French league, I know he's 21, but I don't think that's that exceptional. I think Ousmane Dembele in his year at Rennes was on like 0.6, 0.7, and he was only 18.
But he is a freak talent, to be fair.
Yeah, he is a freak talent. I think he'll be very able backup. But I can just see, I think this will be the year that Man City and Liverpool really, really are right up there. I also think Real Madrid are in for a really difficult year, I think. Without Ronaldo, Benzema 32 in December. I mean, it's a big year for Bale, and from the clips I've seen of him in pre-season, he looks bang in form. But massive season for him. Modric clearly not unhappy, a bit unhappy there, a bit unsettled. It'll be really difficult for them to replicate the form of the last few years. So it'll be a fascinating Champions League, and I just think it's Man City or Liverpool one of them in the final for me.
Ooh, so let's lock down who we think is going to win it then, each of us. I'm going to go for Barcelona.
I think Barcelona are always a safe shout. Like I always kind of like leave them out because they're just pretty good. But I don't know. I think Atleti maybe.
Atleti. 2 Spanish sides so far.
Fair. I'm going to go Juve or Man City, I think.
Lock one down, mate. You can't.
Fine, I'll go Man City.
Oh, wow. So there we have it. But who do you guys at home think is going to win the Champions League this year? There's a poll up there. You can click the I button and get involved. Man United, it's a massive week, of course. Yesterday they lost 1-0 to Bayern Munich. Jose Mourinho, after the game, came out and publicly battered his CEO.
Because he spat at a bouncer outside a club recently.
I bet you've done that before.
I haven't actually. Many arguments.
Wow, you're hardcore.
But never spat, because I'm a classy guy.
Hero of the Week award has returned.
What the was that? Oh, the finger stuff.
It's a panic buy. It's a panic buy. You don't spend that kind of money on. Zach, did you know who he was 2 months ago?
On my mind, I've got a meal at the deal, but I'm still in the grind. Now shorty says she feeling my style, she feeling my flow. A girl from Wooded buy. Honestly, it get to a point where Mourinho is in a press conference, brings Edward Woodward in, and just nuts him right in the face.
Moving on now to quick fire questions. The first one comes from Tis Liban. He says, who are you most excited to watch this season? I'll jump straight in off the back here. 2 names. Obviously Ronaldo, but it's kind of a boring answer, isn't it? But I'm going to say Ryan Sessegnon.
Nice.
At Fulham in the Premier League. Can't wait to see whether he can handle the step up. And if he does handle the step up, I think he could be in for a massive move in either January or the summer. I'm super excited to see what he does at Fulham on that left side. I don't know whether he's going to be used as a left winger or a left back, how he's going to be used by Jokanovic, but I'm just excited to see what he does. Such a young talent and obviously prodigious. And also, Mateo Kovacic. We've banged on about Kovacic at FD for 18 months, consistently saying, somebody sign him. He is one of Europe's best midfielders hidden in the subs bench. And finally, someone has got him off of Real Madrid's bench in the form of Chelsea, and it's Maurizio Sarri. I just cannot wait to see a midfield of Jorginho, Kante, and Kovacic. That is one of Europe's best. And Maurizio Sarri, oh my God, that is such a sexy combination, those three plus Maurizio Sarri, man. I'm actually buzzing to watch Chelsea games. That's so sad. I can't believe I've just said that, but I am actually buzzing to watch Chelsea play football this season. What about you?
I think Chelsea have got to be up there as well. I'm really excited about Chelsea. I think also if Valencia looks like they've got in Michy Batshuayi, obviously that'll be confirmed. If they've managed that and then they try and get Gonzalo Guedes later in the window, which they've been linked to, if they got those two players in, that would be really exciting, because last season they overperformed their expected goals and attack quite a lot. Like Simone Zaza, I don't think is that great a player. I don't really like Rodrigo. I think he'll regress a little bit this season. But those guys are superstars, the two of them. And that would be really fun. Like, they've got a really solid defensive base because Marcelino does what Marcelino does. So I think the Valencia becoming like a big side again would be quite enjoyable and really locking down fourth spot. Other than that, Leon Bailey, maybe. Leon Bailey had a huge season last year at Bayer Leverkusen, and he was 20 years old. Crazy. Plus he played some minutes at wing back, which is pretty grim, really. So I think that if he's freed up a little bit this season, if he's able to attack the way he wants to, he could have a monster campaign. And he's the guy who you look at and you say, he's got the numbers that Leroy Sané had when he was in his last season at Schalke. He was pretty much averaging a goal contribution every 2 games at a really young age in a top league, and you were like, this guy's going to blow up. Bailey's now that guy, and he's actually younger than Sané was at that point, I think. So he'll be really good. Oh, and Felipe Anderson at West Ham. Felipe Anderson is a standard player that West Ham have no right to be signing.
Yeah, you were very impressed with my fantasy football pick yesterday.
Yeah, Felipe Anderson could have gone to any of the top 6 sides, bar maybe Man City, and been not only a useful player, but could probably have put himself in competition for first team if he's fit. So if he stays fit and he plays under Pellegrini, who I think is a really good attacking coach, I think West Ham could be pretty watchable.
Fair. I'm quite excited. Quite weirdly, I'm quite excited to watch Inter Milan in the Champions League. They haven't been in there for 6-7 years. I think they've recruited an absolutely phenomenal defence for Schalke, De Vrij, Asamoah, Skriniar, Miranda, Ranocchia. There's so many options in there. Midfield, if they get Modric as well, Nainggolan, Brozovic,
Valero.
Yeah, exactly. Icardi up front, Perisic. I think that would be fascinating to watch. I'm really excited to see which way Wolves go this year. I think it could be the boom or bust. And then one player that I can't wait to watch is Naby Keita. To see what he can do in the Premier League, I think it's going to be really, really exciting. And then around Europe, I think Tomo Lemar will be really interesting at Atletico Madrid. He wasn't as good last year as he was in their title-winning campaign the year before, but I think that'll be a really interesting move. So yeah, I've got a few things to get excited about.
Yeah, all right, fair play. Next question then. Career Mode 2018 says, will Salah replicate his 17-18 form this season, Pat?
Form, yes. Goal-scoring numbers, probably no. He'll replicate his form in the sense that I think he'll still play very, very well, score a lot of goals, but realistically, an expected goal kind of bears this out. He's probably going to be more a 20 to 25 goal player than he is going to be a 32 goal player every season. I'd expect him this season maybe to get 22, 23, somewhere in that region, and a bunch of assists. But that, to me, is a really, really good campaign. And I think he'll probably do that season on season now. Especially
for a wide man, I completely agree. I think if you're Jurgen Klopp, you're happy probably even 15 to 20 out of Mo Salah as a wide man, especially as I kind of feel personally that Mo Salah's numbers may drop, but then that will improve Firmino or Sadio Mane's output. I actually think one of those two is going to have a really standout campaign this year, and it might well be Bobby Firmino. I just feel like a lot of the defences are going to go, we got to lock Salah down, move on to Salah, and that might just leave that extra half a yard that Bobby Firmino needs. I think Bobby Firmino could have a massive year, sort of a 20 to 30 goal.
Really? I was just going to say that I'm not personally convinced that he is a 20 goal a season striker. I think he's a fantastic player. I don't know whether he's a 20 goal a season striker, but to answer the question, form, as Patrick says, probably likely, but 44 goals in all competitions, I don't see that being replicated. But I think Liverpool are going to be really fun to watch. I think actually there's going to be some cracking football in the Premier League. I know we sound a bit biased at times.
What's the over/under on how many teams will keep clean sheets against them this season? Like, how many games in this 38-game season do you think they will not score in? I reckon it'll be like 3.
What, you actually think
Max.
they're... No, I don't know, man.
They're going to score constantly.
I can't see many. I think maybe 5 or 6.
How do you?
Might get 5 or 6.
I just don't know how you keep them out of the game, because if you decide to like double down on Salah, then you've got Mane, Firmino, and now you've got Keita. You've got a guy who can pull defences out with his dribbling and create space for those guys. They're really quite worrying.
No, I completely agree, but I also feel like they do. No, this is proper like old school journalist Sky Sport / BT Sport vibe.
Go and get your yellow tile.
It's a little bit. I still feel like they can sometimes have those games against a Burnley where they just a low block just does.
It's always after a big win. I think they struggle sometimes.
A low block just does them in, and then you just see bloody guaranteed on the touchline will be Mark Hughes like this. 0-0 away at Anfield, and it's like, oh, that's a big 2 points drop.
They've got a bit more depth this year as well. I mean, Shaqiri coming off the bench, Lallana will be back fully fit. Sturridge has looked really good in pre-season.
Sturridge has looked really good in pre-season, man. I feel like Sturridge has got a big season.
I had a bet with my mate. I had a bet with my mate saying I said Giroud would score more goals than Sturridge, and he is convinced that Sturridge will score more goals throughout the season.
I think Sturridge is going to play a lot of minutes. Listening to Jurgen Klopp pre-season seems a big fan of Sturridge again.
Interesting.
Let's go to the last quickfire question. And was from Saf VK. He says, who will win the Prem first, Tottenham or Arsenal? Terrible question, Saf, but we will answer it nonetheless. Arsenal will win it before Tottenham.
Do you think?
Probably Arsenal, I'd say.
Arsenal will win it before Tottenham. I think Tottenham's...
Do you think their stadium
build will knock them back as soon as... Tottenham stadium build coincides with Pochettino leaving, in my opinion. And I think that's going to set them back.
If you'd asked me this a year ago, I'd have said Spurs quite happily. But yeah, their inability to push on and deal with the problems in their squad, which would enable them to win a title, mean that I think Arsenal are a better place to do it. Like, I don't think they're going to do it under Emery, but I think maybe 2-3 years' time, Emery leaves and the squad has got a little bit better, a little bit younger. That'll continue to happen, and at some point, you know, a bunch of players, they'll just be lucky enough that they do well and they'll have the right coach.
And Guardiola won't be in the league anymore.
Yeah, if in 2-3 years' time, you know, like Tuchel has left PSG and they got someone like him in, or Spalletti has left Inter, you know, that kind of guy, then I think they could potentially win a title.
I completely agree, because I think what is going to happen with Tottenham is this is their golden form. This is their big chance. And Pochettino, that chance is probably 18 months away, like you said earlier. So I kind of feel like that 18 months coincides, unfortunately for Tottenham fans, with Pep Guardiola's 18 months. And Pep Guardiola and Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool, it's just not the right time for Tottenham.
I can't see them keeping hold of Kane, Ali, Eriksen for too much longer if they're not winning titles.
No,
and they don't have the funds or the youth academy to create a title-winning side out of nowhere. So yeah, probably Arsenal, but Spurs, this is very much your time.
But what about you guys? Tottenham or Arsenal? Who's going to win a league title first? Vote in the poll up there. I button. Click it right now. We're finishing with a few anything but football questions then. The first one, Simon Johansson. Who in the FD squad is most likely to become a millionaire and how? I'm going to go Patrick Van Straten because only house owner in the team.
Yes.
On the property ladder, the guy's wheeling and dealing.
He's off.
I'm going to go you, mate.
I feel like, I mean, I always assumed that Dukes already was.
Yeah, that's Scottish money, mate.
Yeah,
that old Scottish money.
And Dorman as well. Dorman looks like the son of like some sort of like dodgy drug dealer.
Yeah, potentially. But yeah, I'm going to go Patrick Van Straten for this one. Is there anybody else that could throw up a bit of?
We were talking in the office about this briefly when you guys were filming Transfer Review. Liv says she's going to marry for money, so she's pretty sorted.
I think that's fair enough.
That's fair enough.
Hamill's the kind of guy who would go on The Apprentice.
Yeah,
you know, like he's that kind of. He fancies himself as like a little entrepreneur.
The next Katie Hopkins.
So maybe he'll get lucky with like some range of like.
From the wider FD squad, I reckon from FDFC you might know Milad Mogodan. He has got the serious gift of a gab.
Yeah,
and I think he might just come on a good idea one of these days. There's a lot of that comes out of that mouth, but there's some gold as well.
It's true. Dave Jackson also on the property ladder.
Yeah.
So don't discount David Jackson. So yeah, I'd go between Pato and Jacko. Milad's not the worst shout though, because Milad could just come up with something random and become a billionaire in a week.
Or he'd be on the streets within 3 years.
Yeah, either way, could go either way.
Sure.
Diego Escobar says, what's your go-to drink at the pub?
I don't really go to the pub except for this.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of the pub.
Yeah, before everyone says, "Oh, you lads," I quite like Heineken or Amstel.
You're such a lad,
or
Diggs.
Peroni. Beer is my drink at the pub.
Yeah, lager, same for me, to be fair.
But
also,
is it cider?
Don't mind a cider, my boy. Don't mind a nice little tipple.
Good cider.
Give me a little apple there, my boy. You see them Devon.
Enjoy a good cider. Actually.
In Devon, about 2/3 of the pumps on the bar will be cider. So it's hard to
because it's
hard
good
to
cider.
ignore it.
That's the cider that kills you. It's like 9%.
Yeah,
like
it is. Like old Rattler, my boy.
Old Rosie.
Old Rattler. So yeah, a cider or a lager. Pato, you're an old-fashioned man, aren't you? In the summer. No, what's the one called you always get? An Aperol Spritz.
I do like an Aperol Spritz, but G&T, just a really good G&T.
Yeah, true.
I got into the G&T.
Because a beer to me never quenches my thirst, and what I want from a drink, even if it's cold out, is to be kind of
thirst
like
quencher.
Thirst quenched. And I think that a really cold G&T always does that.
What about a club though?
In the club,
the club.
Rum and cokes, probably.
Scissor.
What?
Dukes is on pure scissor.
Yeah.
Lean. I don't know, man. In the club.
If I want to get really drunk quickly, then a few Jaeger bombs as well will do the trick.
Yeah, Dukes loves it. Yeah, he actually does. Sniffs it out from a mile away. I'm still got a bit of Unibar. I'll smash a vodka Red Bull.
Yeah, like a rum and coke or something. Gives you the energy, gives you the booze.
Let's go to the next one then. Michael Barrett, where do you think FD will be in 5 to 10 years' time?
Wow, we'll be everywhere.
Wow. We'll be everywhere, yeah, man. I don't know, that's such a difficult question to answer.
I think it will expand from what it is now, though, right? Like at the moment, it's YouTube, and like we're talking about podcasts. Like I think podcasts inevitably could lead to live shows, and things like that. Like we would like to do some merch maybe one day. There are lots of things we'd like to try. It all depends on whether people want them.
I think it will become one of like the sort of established names of household football, not just digital football. I think over the next 5 to 10 years, maybe within the next 5 years, quite a few TV rights companies will start to lose rights to digital entities. We've seen it this season with 11 Sport picked up La Liga, Serie A rights, and I think CSL rights in the UK. They're going to be doing one game a week live streamed on Facebook every single week, including Cristiano Ronaldo's debut for Juventus. So I think you'll start to see that slide. And when that slide starts to happen, I think you'll start to see channels like Football Daily, Copper 90 get offered or be in the running for digital rights for major leagues. And when that happens, the whole thing gets flipped on its head and digital channels become the established ones and TV start chasing digital rights. Yeah. That's what I think will happen over the next 5-10 years, but just an opinion. Welsh Loz says, what's your favourite crisp to wrap up?
McCoy's cheese and onion. What are those little
What?
Yeah, I love McCoy's. Disgusting. Also, what are those little ones, the little ginger ones? What's it? Loved them when we were growing up.
It's the weirdest description of it.
Those little
ginger ones.
The little nuggety ones.
You've gone wrong, mate.
The little ginger ones.
Do pork scratchings count?
No.
Pork
scratching does not count as a crisp.
Okay. I enjoy a ridged crisp. I like surface area. That's what I'm into.
Area, don't you?
You know what? Monster Munch as well. Those fucking kick ass.
Could do with a bit of kettle chips as well.
You know what? I kind of like a Thai chili sensation.
Oh God! It's not a flavour.
It's not the best. And also, I do like
Frazzles. Skips.
Frazzles a wicked shout. A skip. Banging. I'll go skip as well. Melt in your mouth, baby.
I knew you were going to say skips.
A skip is melt in your mouth, tasty.
Skips always give me a weird feeling in the... not skips.
You know what? Hula hoops as well. Just a good...
They'll
never let you down. They'll never let you down.
No,
buzzing shout.
Stick to your what's it.
Bang.
Yeah, so there we have it. What's your favourite crisp? Let us know in the comments, I guess. Who cares? So that's it for Sunday Vibes this week. If you want to be involved next week, make sure you send your questions into our Twitter accounts or the Football Daily Twitter account, or just leave it in the comments below with the hashtag Sunday Vibes. Gentlemen, what else is happening on the Football Daily Network?
Go over and check out Friday's VFN. Imagine it will be Joe and Jacko as usual, going through goals and all the other good stuff. Go check out yesterday's Hot Takes. I think it's Dave Jackson and Olivia. Olivia doing her Hot Takes debut, I think.
Maybe.
So go check that out, whoever's on it. I'm sure it'll be entertaining either way.
And sign up to our Fantasy Football League as publicised in the 12th Man. Watch the 12th Man as well. And our pin, I think, is 8376406. So if you put that in, then you will be in our...
Wow.
Bang.
Good man.
Oh my God, madman. Links in the description below. Goodbye.